I do not deserve.
I do not deserve.
Hello, welcome back to YCFT. The X Trilogy? What do you call it? The X Trilogy or the Maxine Trilogy?
The Maxxxine Trilogy.
Ty West's new trilogy starring Mia Goth as both Maxine and Pearl has recently come to an end.
Yeah.
We did a review on X all the way back when it came out in 2022. We really wanted to do one on Pearl, which came out the same year, which was a prequel to X. But over here in the UK, we, for some reason, had to wait months for it. We didn't actually get it until like 2023.
No, we got screwed over.
We got royally screwed over by that one. Thankfully, Maxine came out the same day. We were just too busy to get a review out for that one, so we thought...
Yeah, we missed the boat with Pearl.
We missed the boat with Pearl, and we were just too busy for Maxine. But we always kind of wanted to do something looking at Mia Goth's performance as Maxine and Pearl. The two characters have a lot of similarities and a lot of difference, and we just kind of want to discuss, now that the trilogy's over, is Maxine destined to become Pearl, or something like Pearl at the end of her life?
Yeah, so this is more of a character study type video, I guess. It's not an outright review of the trilogy. It's not. We're not going over X. We've done that already. We're not solidly reviewing Pearl. We're not solidly reviewing Maxine. It's more the character. Yeah. The characters, I suppose.
We enjoy every film in this trilogy. Would you say you're the same as me, that X is your favourite?
I think so. I think just in terms of... I've seen X maybe 4 or 5 times. I've seen Pearl twice. And I'm aware that the only reason I rewatched Pearl was for the sake of this video, to brush up on the character. And I think it's a phenomenal movie. But I think it's one of those films where whenever I watch it, there'll have to be a specific reason as to why I watch it, whereas X is like, I'm always in the mood to watch X.
I really do like Pearl, and I think Mia Goth should have won all the awards for her monologue. She was fantastic. But the movie makes me uncomfortable. So it's like... Yeah, and that's... You know, its aim is to make you uncomfortable. So it's just not something I'm going to put on casually like I would X. Even Maxine, I think I could watch more casually. But I think Pearl is a better movie than Maxine. Maxine, I did enjoy. In fact, I enjoy every film in this trilogy. But it's quite unique that each film is in an entirely different genre.
Yeah, all under
drastically different tone.
Umbrella of horror. But yes, all very different. Stylistically, very, very different.
Yeah, Ty West has done an incredible job here. And what a lot of people might not know is... X was made during the pandemic. I think we might have mentioned this in a review. I know that was like 2 years ago.
It was a while.
And at one point they had to isolate. And basically they were enjoying the production so much that he and Mia Goth came up with this idea of doing a prequel for the old lady character of Pearl. And A24 signed off on it. So principal photography on Pearl started the day after X finished. I remember reading an interview with the people who own the farmhouse, I think it was, that that they shot in. Obviously they asked them if they could continue shooting. They decorated it to look like it was, post-war, much more vibrant, Technicolor. And they said, we'll put it back afterwards, but they enjoyed the makeover so much they asked us to keep it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a free
external house makeover.
Yeah.
Do you know how much it cost to paint a barn? Yeah. I remember the post-credit scene announcing Pearl, we actually didn't get that either. Only certain cinemas did, and it was the same for the post-credit scene for announcing Maxine. We also didn't get that. And I think... They kind of wanted to maybe try and get all 3 of them out of the year, but Mia Goth went and had a baby. So I had a little bit of a break and come back to finish Maxine.
She did have baby. I also like a little bit of trivia just to go alongside that. The notes, Mia Goth had made a lot of notes just for herself to help ease into the Pearl character. So she'd written a backstory for Pearl. And it wasn't for anyone else's eyes, it was just for her. But she did share it with Ty at some point during the production, and he liked it so much, and that also helped develop Pearl, the script. So a lot of what she'd come up with herself ended up in the...
That's really cool, because I believe she ended up being an exec producer on both of those. Which kind of makes sense, and she basically created the backstory of this character. It is her character.
Did you notice she's now just a full-blown producer on Maxine?
Oh, yeah, she was.
Yeah, she had her own title card and everything. Producer, Mia Goth.
Let's look at the characters of Maxine and Pearl in X. They're never more similar than they are in X.
Well, they have all the screen time together. In X.
Well, they're never going to have screen time together again.
Exactly.
So, Maxine is what Pearl used to be, essentially. Pearl looks on her and sees lost youth, lost beauty, lost opportunity, whereas Maxine looks at Pearl and sees fear that she's going to not get what she wants within life, basically end up alone and unhappy, withered away. Nothing scares Maxine more than the life that she sees Pearl living. Whereas Pearl obviously looks back on her and thinks that she's wasting her youth and beauty.
Yeah, I think also with when Maxine looks at Pearl, she has that, this is going to sound a bit crude, but she has that general kind of ickiness that a lot of young people especially have with older people. You know, it's like there's always that inbuilt fear with younger ones, like, oh, I don't want to turn into that, I don't want to get old, I don't want to get wrinkly, I don't want to, you know, lose my mobility and all of that. But it goes even further because, you know, in X, the sex scene between Pearl and Howard, it's designed, I think, Ty West knows exactly what he's doing. You know, everyone watching that scene is gonna, like, people don't want to watch that. And I think Pearl is kind of the audience in that sense, where those interactions that she has with Pearl, she's uncomfortable and she doesn't like what she sees reflected back at her when she looks at Pearl.
Obviously, that relationship does not end. Nothing flourishes between the two of them. You know, Pearl murders all of her friends.
Yeah, it's yeah, it doesn't go down very well.
Pearl is keeping young men in the basement to do stuff with them with the help of her husband Howard, who cannot pleasure her because of a heart condition. I'm not saying Maxine's going to end up like that.
No,
she might not start chaining people up. But I'm curious, based on the backstories of Pearl, the backstory of Pearl that we're about to go into. Could this idea of like feeling like they've lost something and hating the younger generation for it, could Maxine end up at that point?
Yeah.
By the end of her life.
It's an interesting discussion, this one, because Pearl and Maxine are two very, very different people. Both of them are killers. Both of them kill for very different reasons, for different motives and different drives. I think when you look at X alone, the biggest similarity that you have is the two of them are frustrated with the life that they currently have. Pearl has lived a life that's ultimately been quite unfulfilling, and she's settled. And we learn that, especially in Pearl, that she has settled for this farm life. She's had all these big aspirations, she's had all these dreams. She once had this beauty that's never really manifested beyond the farmland. Whereas Maxine is on the cusp of being famous, is on the cusp of that celebrity and has the beauty, and she hasn't lost it yet. So the two, I think when you look at X, just as a standalone story, that's the main similarity you can draw. You've got two women here that desperately want the same thing. One is on the cusp of getting it, one is well and truly lost the chance of getting it. I think we need to, like, the kills and everything else, I think we'll need to dissect as we go, because that's where I think you can clearly draw a line that they are not similar.
They're similar up until the point where they mirror each other. Like, say, if we do talk about the kills, Maxine only kills out of necessity.
Yes, exactly.
And that follows into Maxine as well. Whereas, I think you pointed this out to me yesterday, Pearl gets a kick out of killing.
She does. You cannot deny it.
You can see that with RJ's kill in X especially.
Yes. But I also think there's a difference between young Pearl and old Pearl. Because young Pearl kills primarily for the reason she kills people because these people she thinks are holding her back. She kills her family, she kills the projectionist, all because she thinks that they are putting a major spanner in the works of her leaving this farm.
Yeah.
Old Pearl kills because that is how she gets her kicks.
It's the only
sexual
excitement.
Gratification.
It's the only excitement she can now.
Absolutely. Yeah. That scene with RJ, that's nothing if not an orgasmic thrill.
Yeah.
And obviously we see that poor bastard that's been chained in the basement with his doodah out. It's like that, you know for a fact. Like, that's not Howard having his wicked way with that guy. That is all Pearl.
Yeah. Something else you pointed out when we watched Pearl this time, because this was only the second time we watched Pearl, outside of watching it in the cinema. There is a line in X where Pearl says she doesn't like blondes.
Yeah.
In Pearl, her sister-in-law goes to the same dance audition that she does.
Yeah.
And it's kind of assumed that she gets it, even though she tells Pearl that she doesn't.
Yeah.
Resulting in her being, killed with an axe.
Yeah, very brutally.
That could be the reason she doesn't like blondes. And it seems like a big reason why she didn't get the part in the dance troupe is because they already had a lot of girls that looked a lot like Pearl, dark-haired.
Yeah.
They also said she was a bit too old.
Yeah. You're just not what we're looking for.
Yeah.
a star.
No, I'm a star! Please, I'm a star!
To me, that means they wanted a blonde. They wanted a leading
blonde.
lady.
Yeah. All American girl.
So it's like she's always going to blame that particular demographic for the way her life. But that scene where she goes to the audition,
I think you had to look away, didn't you?
I did.
It's
It's so
excruciatingly
when you know it's coming.
painful to watch.
But we would compare like that audition with Maxine's audition at the beginning of Maxxine.
Yes.
Well, obviously Maxine aces it, but it's not just that she puts on a really good performance. Pearl puts on a really good performance. It's how they handle themselves after. Pearl assumes that she's got it, and at no point in her mind did she think she wasn't going to get this.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
And when she doesn't get it, that's it. She's a broken woman at this point.
Yeah.
Maxine, at the end of her audition, she straight up tells the producers and the director, "You should cast me in this picture because I'm going to be a star." It's not till the end of the movie when you find out what it is she actually said. You assume she gets it purely based on her audition.
Yeah.
And it's at the end of the movie when we see the rest of the tape and we see it was what she said afterwards that helped her stand apart. And you can see their stories separate.
Absolutely. It's a really good scene, like two scenes that kind of are parallel to each other to really get to the bottom of the differences between the two characters.
Should we talk a little bit about their home life, which is also a mirror.
So important. Yeah, definitely.
You want to take us through Pearl's relationship with her parents?
It's complicated. It's a tricky one. Both Maxine and Pearl have very complicated relationships with their parents. We spend a lot more time with Pearl and her family. We get to see the workings of the dynamics, and they are not good. Her father presumably has had some kind of stroke. He's mute. He has no physical agency whatsoever. But it's very much inferred that he's still very much aware. Like he knows what's going on around him.
That must be hell.
Trapped in your own body. Yeah, absolutely. And it's really hard to watch. But Pearl nevertheless seems to have like a genuine kind of affection for her father. Whereas with her mother, it's a very, very hard relationship. It's distant, it's cold. I don't think Pearl's mum, I can't remember her name, but she doesn't really appear to be maternal. And even before we get to that explosive scene at the dining table later on in the movie, we get the feeling that this is not a good mother-daughter relationship.
It's also interesting, them being of German heritage during the war.
They've been ostracised, I think. Yeah, definitely.
But it's also, there are people that are willing to help, their family that are willing to help them, but she's too proud.
Yeah.
Too proud to accept help.
And ultimately, we actually kind of learn that Pearl's mum is very much like her daughter. Pearl's mum is frustrated with the life that she currently leads. She says, I was supposed to be a wife. I was supposed to be his wife. I wasn't supposed to be his caretaker. Do you think I want to be stuck on this farm day in and day out? I had my own dreams. I had my own aspirations.
Which is so interesting because throughout the movie, she is going after Pearl for saying that, is this not enough for you? It's like, well, it's not enough for you either.
Yeah, exactly. And, the mum says, she literally looks at her daughter and says, you are no better than me. And screams in her face, yes, I am a star. I mean, it's a fascinating relationship to watch.
Yeah.
To watch play out. But ultimately, Pearl has a very difficult relationship with both of them for different reasons.
Yeah.
But what I also find interesting is Pearl's mum dies a very brutal, agonising, slow death.
But Pearl's mum's also afraid of her.
She's petrified of her.
Because she kills animals.
She's been watching her daughter for all these years on the farm, and I think she knows, which may have, obviously contributed to the hostility she has with her daughter, but I think it started way earlier on.
Yeah.
I think it's always been something of a very distant relationship, which again reflects the deaths, because, Pearl bestows a very, very brutal death upon her mum, whereas with her dad, you could almost argue it's a mercy kill. And she then admits she regrets killing her dad. So I think it all in all, even though we don't see her childhood, I think we can take it as a given that the father has been the more affectionate of the parents. The mother has always been very cold and very distant, which has been exacerbated by watching her daughter's behaviour and like this growing psychopathy within Pearl. But then you look at Maxine, who also has a difficult relationship with her father. Her father is this crackpot evangelist who is, you know, completely overtly religious, probably raised his daughter in this very religious, strict household.
We are going to have to go into minor spoilers for Maxine for this one.
We will have to.
Her father is only seen on the television in X.
Preaching.
We never see her mother.
No, we don't know.
You are
what
right. It
happens
seems to
her mum.
be that she was raised in this heavily religious background. But that line that she says of, "I will not accept the life I do not deserve," that is something that he has passed on to her.
He's instilled it in her from childhood.
So you got Pearl, who was basically beaten down by her parents. Maxine was sort of raised up
by her father.
Yeah, and that community.
Specifically. Yeah.
I will not accept a life I do not
I
deserve.
do not deserve.
And again, spoilers for Maxine. Ultimately, both Pearl and Maxine are guilty of patricide. Both kill their fathers because both are holding them back. It's basically for the same reason.
Yeah, Maxine didn't want to feel locked into her father's lifestyle. And you can tell the path that she's gone down to get famous is to get back at her father.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think when she does blow his head off, it's not out of revenge. It's not out of justice for all the other women that he's brutally killed. It's to save herself.
We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
We'd like to shout out our groovy members. We appreciate everything you do for this channel and helping us grow. You guys are awesome.
We talked about this when watching Maxine. She's not a hero in that film. In fact, she specifically asked, you could help us save these women. She said, something along the lines of, they should be able to save themselves.
Yeah.
She did.
Yeah,
She
exactly.
goes up there to save herself.
Yeah.
Not to go save a co-star who might be up there.
Totally.
It's all for her.
Totally. Pearl...
And that's kind of why she is similar to Pearl in a way, because Pearl is very single-minded.
Oh, totally.
Only cares about herself. The problem she has towards Howard for leaving to go to the war.
And I hate you for leaving me on this farm.
It's all. She never at any point considers Howard's feelings. Why Howard wanted to leave his home life. Why he felt like he had to go to the war. It's all how it affected
her. How dare you leave me? Dare you abandon me to this life?
Considering the scene that Howard comes back to see, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre inspired scene of dead family around then. I actually just want to compliment the shot, the credit shot of her just smiling at the camera.
Oh, it lasts so long. It's painful.
I think it wasn't planned. Ty West just told her to hold it for as long,
hold it,
long as she could.
Mia Goth's face is like, please say cut. Please say cut.
Tears start. Ultimately, she hides her real self from Howard.
Yeah.
I think Howard must have always been able to see it. Because Howard clearly sticks around and does everything he can to make her feel loved
and wanted
and special. But she can't see past her own selfishness to see that she already has someone who has her best interest in heart.
Totally.
And Maxine very much also just has her own best interests at heart, but she's very vocal. She's very vocal about it.
Yeah. The difference is
she doesn't hide who she is.
She does not hide who she is. And I think a lot of that is the time difference. 1918, which I think is when... Yeah, it must be, because the boys are coming back from the war. Obviously, society was very different. Women were treated very differently. The expectations of women were very different. Opportunity exists for Maxine in a way that it just couldn't exist for Pearl. And I think that is a key difference between them as well. But also, Maxine does not have a life partner. And I think Maxine personally is destined to remain me, myself, and I. I can't see Maxine getting married at any point either. But I do think this leans in quite nicely to talk about their personalities in general. Because that incredible scene with Pearl at the dinner table and she's confessing to Mitzi, pretending that she's Howard and getting all this off her chest. Pearl admits she just wants to be loved. She needs to be adored. And whether that's familial or whether she needs fans or whatever it is, but she needs something. She needs to be loved. And there is something profoundly childlike about Pearl. Even, just in general conversations with people, she doesn't really know how to interact with other adults. There's something kind of shy and timid and meek about her, and when the projectionist kind of starts backing away and she just reduces herself into this screaming child almost.
Yeah.
She doesn't know how to handle rejection. And yeah, the breakdown at the audition, like there's no dignity there. It's again, she's just like a child having a tantrum.
Yeah.
Maxine would never do
Mia
that.
Goth gives her the ugliest cry. That
Yeah,
is so,
she goes for it.
It's so uncomfortable.
But Maxine would never
No.
do that. Maxine would never break down after an audition. She's got too much pride at that. She doesn't need love. She needs fans, but I don't think Maxine personally needs, a romantic or a sensual kind of love in the way that Pearl clearly does.
I would say I think Maxine needs friends.
Yeah.
And it seems like she's quite picky about the friends that she has and never lets herself get too close.
Yeah.
But she doesn't want to be alone.
Doesn't want to be alone. Pearl ultimately, I think this is fair to say, is unhinged.
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely unhinged.
Maxine is not.
Yeah.
We said it earlier, Maxine will only kill if it serves a purpose, if she has to. She does not get any, kicks out of it. Yeah, she's not killing for an orgasmic high, necessarily. She kills because she has to kill to get that fame, to get that next part. So, there's so many similarities, but a lot of differences between them.
I want to go into Maxine just a little bit, just a few things that... It obviously isn't a review of it, but a few things I just kind of liked about the movie. The setting, the 80s setting, I think the Ty West really captures the seediness.
Yeah.
Because the 80s is very, glamorized with the Stranger Things and whatnot, but it was a dark time, and setting it during the time of the Night Stalker, I think, was genius. Not really having it be part of the story of the film, but the tone and the setting. And I said to you when we got out, Maxine is still working in porn as well, whilst going to going to auditions, working in
and she's not ashamed of it.
Working in peep shows and stuff like that. The porn sets that we see are the cleanest part of this entire film.
Yeah.
And I find that fascinating.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I love the film backlot. It looks very much like it might even meant to be the same one from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yeah, maybe.
And obviously getting to see the Bates Motel and
it's all there.
The house with Pearl stood in the window. The film looks absolutely incredible.
It does. It's stunning. All three of these films are visually, they are a treat.
An absolute treat. So what part of the main thing of will she inevitably become like Pearl in some way is by the end of the movie.
Yeah.
So like I said, spoilers. It's actually interesting. We saw it with some friends who had we all had different ideas of how the movie was going to end, I think.
Yeah.
I thought she was going to die.
Yeah.
A friend of ours thought that she'd also die of a coke overdose or something like that.
Yeah, Maxine likes to sniff the white powder.
Am I right saying, did you think she wasn't going to get the big part? One of us did, I can't remember.
I remember watching it thinking, I think she's going to get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think she is destined to get the
someone
fame.
else in our group. It's just interesting going into it, how the different ideas we all had, and I think any one of them would have worked.
I agree.
So she gets her big... Well, she's had her big part from the very beginning. The only thing that kind of makes her spring into action to deal with these weird notes that have been coming to her is she's basically told by the director, because one of the stars has disappeared.
Yeah.
You have a weekend to get your shit together, or you're out. That's when she gets into action.
Yeah.
Again, to save herself.
Yeah, absolutely.
And she does that. That event is what makes her a star. The movie she made in X was never released.
No.
It was held in police custody. The Farmer's Daughter, which you pointed out, you can actually see a cut of it, not a full
on the X Blu-ray.
Not the X-rated edition, but a lot of the scenes they put together to make a little short film, which is quite fun. I like little features like that. It was a great time lapse of having the makeup done for Pearl as well.
Yeah, it's great.
I completely lost track of what I was saying. Yeah, the Farmer's Daughter is never what made her a star.
No,
she's
not
had to. So she technically did have that failure moment that Pearl did, because she expected this to be her big start. But after this event and all friends getting killed, she then basically had to start again. But she kept going.
Yeah.
So this big event of confronting this killer, this killer of women, and then starring into a movie which threw the movie into popularity as well, made her a household name, made her a star.
Yeah.
Also, another sidebar, I really like the fact they show picketers outside of movie theaters, because the film is very religious, isn't it? Religious horror,
satanic panic, and all of that.
And just because I remember watching something where their parents were picketing and protesting various things over the likes like Dungeons and Dragons introducing like
Yeah.
Satan to children. So it's like, I think it would have been wrong not to have included people protesting the movie.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I'm making this a very long-winded answer, but I will get to my point. She's a star. The movie ends with like a prosthetic decapitated head of hers on a bed, and she's being interviewed, and her final line is, because essentially it's what's next, she said, "Oh, I just never want it to end."
I just never wanted to end.
And that's how the movie ends, with the credits over this decapitated fake head of hers. That, I think, is the important line which might mean she will eventually become something like Pearl. Because it has to end. She's going to get older. Her star will fade. New actresses will come along. The decades will change.
Yeah, the
she
landscape
can't
changes.
be a star forever. And she's in a time period where famously it's difficult to remain in the spotlight.
Yeah.
So I think over time she will get bitter. She's going to lead this lavish lifestyle, which will eventually fade away. Is she going to end up on a film, maybe even in the early 2000s, where she's being cast as the motherly or grandmotherly character with this young star who's getting all the limelight, whereas this is meant to be her comeback movie? I could see her snapping in the future, because she's killed in the past. She could always kill again.
Oh, I 100% think she will kill again.
Yeah.
Because I think, she's ripe for blackmail at this point.
Because to be fair, she didn't need to kill her father.
No, she didn't. I think she will kill again. Interestingly, going back to what we were saying, we all foresaw the film ending in different ways. Someone thought, she could potentially die of a coke overdose at the end of the movie before she, realises how famous she is. That could still be on the future for Pearl. For Maxine. It could be on the cards. She could in a few years just die of a massive overdose. Who knows?
Who knows? But I do think she can't stay at the level she's at forever.
No, she wants it so badly that inevitably when it does start to dissipate, I think she will react very viscerally. And I don't know how that's going to manifest itself, but I do think
it could even be she could lose at the Oscars and she has the breakdown that Pearl has.
Oh my god, imagine that scene in a movie. Like, it'd be fucking brilliant. Like,
as far as
Carrie
I'm aware,
at the Oscars.
There's no plans to make another one. I think the trilogy is well and truly done, and I'd be pretty maybe in a few years' time if they want to revisit it, great, but at the moment I'm pretty happy with it as a trilogy. I also really liked, in Maxine, the hints of Jello.
Yeah.
With a lot of the lighting, especially in the video, but also the masked killer, which, again, spoilers, is her father.
Yeah.
The emphasis on eyes, because we see someone get, knife to the eye, the gloves.
Yeah.
Just the emphasis on hands and eyes. I'm like, I've not watched a ton of Jello, but even I know.
That's Jello.
That's Jello.
Yeah.
Right there.
Yeah.
I just really appreciated that, and I think
absolutely.
it really helped Maxine stand out from Pearl and X.
Yeah, definitely. I also think something that I've become aware of is because Maxine is undeniably the biggest film of the trilogy in terms of budget and also in terms of cast. It's had a lot more publicity than the other two have, and it's had a bigger audience than maybe the other two have. And I'm aware that a lot of people are going to see Maxine not realising that it's actually the third film in a trilogy.
I've seen a lot of that online, a lot of people not realising.
Yeah, and it's good because now they are going to check out Pearl and X as well, which is great. But a lot of people are also saying that, oh, don't worry, you don't need to see X and Pearl to go and appreciate Maxine. It can stand on its own.
I think there's a lot that'd be lost on them.
I agree. I don't think technically you need to watch X and Pearl to understand Maxine, because a lot of what happens in X is recounted in Maxine. So, you could pick it up pretty quickly what's going on. But a lot of little nuances will be lost.
I think at the most you could skip Pearl. But I think X, I'd say it's pretty essential. Just to know her character.
Because it's not even... There are moments in Maxine where she has visions of old Lady Pearl, like you said, in the Psycho house and whatnot. Yeah. It's not even for those reasons necessarily. It's just to see how the character has evolved, but also how the events of X are still kind of haunting her in a way. And to see ultimately how different 80s Maxine is from 70s Maxine. Our girls come a long way since then. So I would absolutely recommend X, Pearl, Maxine. Or, if you want to do it chronologically, Pearl, X, and then Maxine.
Yeah, that'd be a really fun watch, actually.
But for the duality between the two characters alone, I think it's worth checking out the trilogy.
I also really like the end of the credits for Maxine. You kind of Ty West puts a thank you to basically the entire cast and of X.
Yeah,
and like a lot of people that helped get that movie made.
I think
because
all of them.
That I'm pretty sure, I might be wrong here, it only had a budget of like $1 million, maybe $2 million.
Yeah.
Like it only had a limited release over here.
Yeah.
And I remember when we went to go see it, we got to see X in the cinema, and it was not a popular release over here.
No, it was a fairly low budget film.
Yeah,
Limited release.
that did well.
Yeah.
And it's honestly, I'm gonna have to give props to A24 for taking the risk on making a prequel on a film which they have no idea is gonna do well anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
And I always like A24 because I feel like they do take a lot of risks because their budgets are never big enough. Whereas if it flops, like something like, say, with Warner Bros. And The Flash, when something like that flops, that's a big money pit that has to be filled.
It is,
if something like this flops, if it did have a budget of like $1 million or $2 million, it's not going to be difficult to rake that back in, even if not in the theaters, streaming afterwards, leasing it out.
Yeah.
Something like Maxine, a bit more pressure to do well, but I'm pretty sure their most expensive film was I think it was Civil War that just came out at about $50 million, which also is not a big budget.
It's been a fascinating ride, this trilogy. I don't know. I mean, I guess Maxine does ultimately succeed where Pearl fails. But I think it's a big but as well. We don't know how long that's going to last.
Yeah.
Is it destined to last? Because also, I guess at the end of the day, the movie that she's working on is called The Puritan 2.
Yeah.
It's a very low budget sequel to a movie, to an already like underground movie.
Yeah.
So is Maxine also just destined to be in like these very low budget underground horror films?
Because she has the difficulty. They've on purposely cast her because she is a porn star as well.
Yeah.
Just for that notoriety, that extra little like jab at the religious picketers. I think her stardom will be enough to propel her into at least 1 or 2 pictures afterwards.
Yeah, beyond that.
It's up to her to really prove if she has that star power and the talent to remain relevant after that.
Yeah.
Because how many people do you see have gotten movie roles just because they've blown up and then instantly drop straight back off again?
Yeah, exactly.
You often see when characters play like superheroes that do really well, they'll instantly get 1 or 2 film roles. And if they don't do very well, they're kind of destined just to keep returning to that superhero character.
So ultimately, do you think she is destined to be?
I think so. Maybe not chaining people up in her basement for sex, but I definitely think she's gonna be bitter, and I think she'll might have to find an actress that looks a little bit like Mia Goth when she's obviously when she grows up a little bit to play a new star that will take her fame away.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I ultimately think it's a cycle that's doomed to repeat.
I suppose if they do a 4th film, maybe, and this is a maybe, that's the route they could go down.
Yeah, and it would have to be set in the 2000s.
Yeah.
I think there has to be we can't just see middle-aged Maxine. I think we need to see aging Maxine.
You could do like basically a horror version of All About Eve, an aging star and a new protege.
I would love another Pearl film because there's still a long stretch of time between Howard coming back from the war and the events of X.
Yeah.
In that time span, they start renting out their little cabin and chaining men up in the basement. There's a lot of story that could still be told there.
I mean, how long has she been doing that as well?
Probably ever since Howard had his heart attack. Because that seems to be the main catalyst, is Howard cannot perform anymore.
So you think they've withheld killing, or she's withheld killing for all those years?
Maybe not, but I think maybe not chaining people up.
Like the sexual element.
Yeah, the sexual element of it. I think that is purely came up because Howard physically cannot do it.
Not do it. Yeah, you're right. There's a lot of scope there. You could do a film in the 30s, 40s, like the war, the Second World War. Yeah. That would be interesting. But I would love to see another Maxine movie. Now it's in my head. Yeah, something akin to All About Eve.
Yeah.
We'll see.
We will see. Do you have any more notes on this one?
I don't. But this was a really good discussion. I'm fascinated by this.
Yeah, I know this is a little bit different to what we usually discuss, but there's not really a trilogy like this, and I don't know if there ever will be again. Again, you have to find a studio willing to take a risk on something like this.
Yeah,
because they went into X without a plan. for more films,
And
it's
now
all.
look where we are.
And maybe it's kind of. I don't think people have issues with Maxine, but I think for a lot of people, it's the least favorite.
I think, the third favourite.
X, low budget film, quickly made into production. Pearl, very quickly thrown into production,
Yeah.
and you got two incredible pieces of work there.
Yeah.
Maxine is a very, very good film, but because it's got more budget, they've had more time to work. Is it slightly just overcooked?
I don't know.
Is what made X and Pearl work so well? Is everything was very in the moment. Right, how do we feel? Let's do this, and it just worked.
Yeah.
Maybe they just spent a bit too much time on it.
Maxine is maybe a little bit too... Well, again, it's the biggest of the three.
Yeah.
So it's probably had a lot more, other voices, other people, personalities involved.
Is it a victim of
than
its own
used to be.
success?
Quite possibly. Look, Maxine is a great finale to a fantastic trilogy, but I would also say it is my least favourite of the three. That's not to say I didn't have a good time with it. I thought it was brilliant. Mia Goth is sensational, as always, but there's just something a little bit special about X and just the sheer uniqueness of Pearl.
Yeah.
But yeah, what a trilogy.
I'm very excited to see what both Mia Goth and especially Ty West, because I first of his films I watched was House of the Devil. One night, House of the Devil, the one where he made it look like 70s.
The 70s, yeah.
Yeah.
He's good with different time periods.
He really is, and he knows his horror. And I'm hoping now he can do whatever he wants next.
The world is his oyster.
Because he's very talented.
That's what I wanted to say. Sorry, talking about ending the video. It's very rare. I think we've spoken about this before. It's very rare in horror channel in the horror genre, especially for slashers, that ladies can come up just as good as the boys. Give them a run for their money, and we don't really have a lot of lady slashers out there. Ty West has given us two lady horror icons.
Yeah.
In this trilogy, we have Maxine and we have Pearl.
Played by the same actress.
Played by the same actress. Yeah.
He's gave us.
So thank you.
He's gave us Mia Goth and
Yeah.
shown the world what she can do, and the fact that she didn't get more awards for her performance in Pearl is ridiculous.
It is. Yeah.
She got a prime rib for her performance.
Yes. Yeah. It's well deserved.
I think she might have got a Fangoria one as well.
I'm hoping with the popularity of Maxine, as I say, more people are checking out Pearl if they missed it on its initial release and will retrospectively recognise that it is a very special performance.
Yeah, if you're in the UK, it is on Now TV.
Yeah.
I think it's been on Now TV since it came out.
Yeah.
It's just always
But yeah.
on there.
Yay, lady slashers.
Yeah, like horror has always been, for the ladies.
It's for the girls.
Well, would you say her best friend is definitely gay in it, isn't he?
In which?
In Maxine.
Maxine. Oh, yeah. I think so. It's very heavily implied. That's why she feels safe with it.
Especially, this feels like something I'm tacking on the end, but it's only just came to my mind. This era of horror, especially, it's always been it was always for the girls and the gays.
Girls and the gays, yeah.
Like,
we are the audience.
There was literally a Friday the 13th movie that was nicknamed on set Fry Gay the 13th because all the cast were gay playing it straight.
Yeah, basically.
So I think, like, if she didn't have a friend in it that was gay, you wouldn't be representing this era very well. So, thanks a lot, guys. Let us know, have you watched Maxine yet? And if so, which is your favourite of the trilogy? Do you think Maxine is destined to become Pearl? We'll see you next week.